Most people spend 2 years learning a language. They buy Duolingo. They watch YouTube videos. They attend classes. They download apps. They quit by week 3. Special Forces soldiers learn the same language in 6 weeks. Fluent enough to run covert operations. Fluent enough to interrogate locals. Fluent enough that their life depends on it. Same brain, different method, and it's not just languages. They memorize entire city layouts from a single satellite image. They memorize communication codes under sleep deprivation. They memorize weapon configurations with shaking hands and sub-zero temperatures. You can't remember where you put your keys. There's a reason for that. And it's not your brain. It's your system. Or more accurately, your complete lack of one. The Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California, is where the U.S. military turns average soldiers into functional language operatives. 6 weeks, 6 hours a day. 4 languages simultaneously in some programs. Linguists who go through the program routinely test at the same level as people who spent years abroad. I reverse engineered the entire system. Research papers, declassified training manuals, interviews with former operatives, cognitive science literature. It comes down to 4 mechanisms. 4 things your brain is being denied right now, that Special Forces soldiers get drilled into them every single day. I'm about to show you all 4. By the end of this, you'll never approach learning the same way again. Here's what you do when you study. You sit down. You open your notes. You read them. You highlight things. You feel productive. You close the book and remember almost nothing. Here's what that is. That is passive exposure. Your brain treats passive exposure as low-priority information. Irrelevant. Background noise. It files it the same way it files elevator music. Technically heard. Immediately discarded. Your brain has a threat detection system. The amygdala. It's been running since before humans existed. Its entire job is to flag what matters and discard what doesn't. When you're safe, comfortable, relaxed, reading your notes in your bedroom, your amygdala says nothing urgent here. Low priority. Delete. When something threatens you, the amygdala explodes. Norepinephrine floods your system. Cortisol spikes. Your brain suddenly treats everything in your environment as critical survival data. Encode it. Keep it. This might save your life. Soldiers at the Defense Language Institute don't just study vocabulary. They are interrogated with it. An instructor walks in, points at a recruit, fires a question in Dari. The recruit has 3 seconds. Wrong answer. They do 50 push-ups and answer again. Right answer. Next question. No breaks. No comfort. No time to think. Psychologist Elizabeth Phelps at New York University spent decades studying this. Emotionally arousing events are remembered with greater accuracy than neutral events. The brain doesn't treat all experiences equally. It uses emotional intensity as a filter. High stress equals high retention. Low stress equals low retention. You've been studying in the most forgettable state possible. Calm, comfortable, unbothered. Your brain has no reason to keep any of it. Here's how you fix it. You manufacture pressure, not fake pressure, real pressure. First tool, the performance timer. Every single study session you run starts with a test, not a review. Closed book. Set a timer for 3 minutes. Write down everything you know about the topic before you've reviewed anything. Everything. You will fail. That's the point. You will feel exposed. Your brain will flag every gap as urgent. That discomfort is not a sign you're doing it wrong. It is the learning mechanism activating. Second tool, vocal interrogation. After every chapter, every video, every learning session, you close everything and you talk out loud, not to yourself quietly, loudly. Like you're explaining it to a hostile audience who is looking for holes. Speak with confidence even when you don't have it. Your brain cannot tell the difference between real and performed confidence. The act of articulating activates encoding. If you can't say it, you don't know it. Third tool, the consequence frame. Before every study session, write 1 sentence. What happens if I don't learn this? Make it real. Make it specific. Not vague stuff like I'll fall behind. I mean real consequences. My presentation is in 4 days. If I don't understand this framework, I will look incompetent in front of my director. I will lose credibility I've spent 2 years building. Now your amygdala has context. Now it treats this information as worth keeping. Pressure alone won't save you. You also need to give the brain the right signal at the right moment. Here's something nobody tells you about memory. Your worst enemy isn't forgetting. Your worst enemy is similarity. When information is too similar to what you already know, your brain merges them. It overwrites one with the other. Cognitive scientists call this interference. There are 2 kinds. Proactive interference, where old knowledge corrupts new knowledge. Retroactive interference, where new knowledge corrupts what you just learned. This is why cramming 5 chapters in one sitting is almost completely useless. The second chapter starts erasing the first one. The 5th chapter starts erasing the 3rd and 4th. Your brain is not a recorder, it's an editor. It constantly decides what stays and what gets cut. Special Forces training uses something called distributed learning with categorical separation. Sounds complicated. It's not. They never study 2 similar things back to back, ever. Language training is split into distinct cognitive categories: phonetics in the morning, grammar structure in the afternoon, vocabulary in the evening. 3 separate domains. The brain treats them as separate files. No interference, no overwriting. Each domain strengthens independently. Andrew Huberman at Stanford has talked about this extensively. The brain consolidates learning during micro-rest periods. Even a brief pause, 10 to 20 seconds of sitting quietly after learning a piece of information, allows the hippocampus to begin initial consolidation. Students who take these micro-rests retain significantly more than students who power through without stopping. You are powering through constantly, no pauses, no gaps. Coffee to desk, to notes, to next video, to more notes. One continuous stream of input. Your brain cannot file anything because you never stop feeding it. Here's the system. Every 25 minutes of studying is followed by a 5-minute rest. Not scrolling, not checking messages, not doing something else. You sit. You let your mind wander. Stare at the wall. Breathe. Let the brain process what it just received. Then you switch subjects. Not similar subjects. Completely unrelated domains. Math, then a language. History, then a technical skill. Your brain treats the switch as a signal. First subject is now closed. File it. Begin new file. Clean separation. The soldiers at DLI call this category blocking. 2 hours of one domain. Full stop. Complete mental break. 2 hours of a completely different domain. Their brains never get the chance to merge unrelated information. Every file stays clean and separate. But separation alone doesn't guarantee long-term storage. Most of what you study will evaporate in 72 hours, unless you run the 3rd mechanism. You know what traditional studying looks like. Read the material. Understand the material. Review the material later. Wrong sequence. That sequence treats your brain like a hard drive. Input goes in. Input stays in. Pull it up when needed. Your brain is not a hard drive. Your brain is a reconstruction engine. Every time you remember something, you are not retrieving a stored file. You are rebuilding it from fragments. And every time you rebuild it, the reconstruction gets slightly stronger. Hermann Ebbinghaus mapped this in 1885. The forgetting curve. After 1 day, you've lost 40% of what you learned. After a week, you've lost 70%. After a month, close to 90% is gone. This is not a malfunction. This is your brain cleaning house. It keeps what it had to work to reconstruct. It deletes what it never had to fight for. Special Forces intelligence operatives use what's called the retrieval ladder, not a review schedule. A retrieval schedule. There is a critical difference. Reviewing means looking at the information again. Retrieving means forcing your brain to reconstruct it without seeing it. One is passive. One is active. One does almost nothing to retention. One locks information in permanently. The retrieval ladder has 4 rungs. After learning something, you attempt retrieval after 1 hour. Not review. Retrieval. Closed book. Write or speak everything you remember. Then after 1 day, same thing. Then after 3 days. Then after 1 week. After that, the information is structurally encoded. It lives in long-term memory with near zero decay. Make it stick. The research synthesis by Brown, Roediger, and McDaniel documented this exhaustively. Testing yourself produces better long-term retention than studying the same material for equal amounts of time. The struggle to retrieve information, the effort, the discomfort of not remembering something immediately, that is not failure. That is the encoding mechanism. You are building the retrieval pathway stronger with every attempt. Most people avoid this because it feels terrible. You look at a blank page and you can't remember what you just spent 2 hours studying, and it feels like you've learned nothing. That feeling is wrong. The reconstruction happening in your brain in that moment is exactly where the learning occurs. It happens when you retrieve, not when you receive. The soldiers don't use flashcard apps casually. They use them on a strict retrieval schedule. Every card comes up at the moment just before the memory would fade. The algorithm tracks their forgetting curve individually. The struggle to retrieve just before forgetting is the optimal learning signal. Too easy means review too soon. Forgotten means review too late. Right at the edge of forgetting means the memory consolidates permanently. Hit subscribe before you forget everything I just said. Seriously, we run retrieval drills here. That's what this channel is. You now have pressure encoding, interference prevention, and retrieval drilling. 3 mechanisms. 3 things your brain needs that you've been denying it. But here's the thing. There's one more. And this is the one that separates people who learn fast from people who learn at an almost inhuman pace. Regular people practice skills in blocks. Learn skill A, practice skill A until comfortable. Move to skill B. This is called blocked practice. It feels productive. Performance improves quickly within sessions. You feel like you're getting good. You're not. You're just getting comfortable with the current session's warm-up. Cognitive psychologist Robert Bjork at UCLA studied this for decades. He found something uncomfortable. Blocked practice produces fast, short-term improvement and almost no long-term retention. Interleaved practice, where you randomly mix multiple skills and subjects in a single session, produces slow, short-term improvement and dramatically superior long-term retention. The confusion feels like failure. It isn't. The confusion is the mechanism. Special Forces training is built entirely on interleaved stress inoculation. You do not practice one skill until it's comfortable, and then add stress. You practice multiple skills under stress from day 1. A language recruit isn't drilled on vocabulary for 2 weeks before adding grammar. They are given vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, and cultural context simultaneously from the first session. Under time pressure, under the threat of public failure, under physical fatigue in some programs, the discomfort is not a side effect. The discomfort is the training. Your brain adapts to whatever conditions it regularly operates in. If you study in silence, comfortable, unhurried, your brain builds retrieval pathways optimized for silence and comfort. Try to retrieve that information under pressure, in a meeting, during a presentation, while tired, and those pathways fail. The access points don't match the conditions. Special Forces soldiers need to retrieve information under gunfire, so they train under gunfire noise. You need to retrieve information in presentations, job interviews, high-stakes conversations. So you need to practice retrieval under those conditions. Here's how you implement interleaved stress inoculation. First, you mix subjects within every session. No pure blocks. If you're studying 3 topics this week, every session contains pieces of all 3, in random order. Your brain cannot predict what's coming next. It cannot coast. It has to stay actively engaged. Second, you add cognitive load. Study while standing. Study with low-level background noise. Study right after moderate physical exercise. Huberman's research shows that BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, spikes significantly after aerobic exercise. BDNF is essentially fertilizer for new neural connections. 20 minutes of elevated heart rate before a study session increases the rate of neural encoding. Soldiers know this. They PT before they study, always. Third, you do performance-based reviews instead of passive ones. Once a week, no notes, no resources. You sit down, and you teach the entire week's material out loud, as if you're presenting it to someone, start to finish. Every concept, every framework, every detail you can reconstruct. Record it if you have to. The gaps you can't fill are your drill list for the following week. Every failure is a targeted instruction to your brain. This is what needs more reconstruction work. Research from Erickson on deliberate practice confirms this. The highest performers in any domain are not people who practiced the most. They are people who consistently practiced at the edge of their current ability, targeting weaknesses rather than reinforcing strengths. Comfort is the signal that you have already encoded this. Discomfort is the signal that encoding is still happening. Interleaved stress inoculation is uncomfortable by design. That's the point. You are building retrieval pathways that function under real conditions, not practice conditions, real ones. Here's the problem, though. Even if you run all 4 of these mechanisms perfectly, there's still one critical failure point that erases most of the gains, and almost nobody knows about it. You have a 90-minute consolidation window after every learning session. In that window, your brain is actively moving what you just learned from short-term working memory into longer-term storage. What you do in that 90 minutes determines how much of the session sticks permanently. Most people fill that window with their phones. Social media, YouTube, more information. Your brain cannot consolidate while taking in new input. It needs low stimulation. Walk outside. Sit quietly. Do light physical activity. Let the consolidation happen. Soldiers are given structured downtime after intensive learning blocks. It's not rest, it's consolidation protocol. Skip the consolidation window, and you erase a significant portion of what you just spent hours learning. Most people do this after every single session, every day, erasing their own work without realizing it. To keep it simple, stupid. 4 mechanisms. Pressure encoding. Manufacture real stakes before every session, and interrogate yourself under time pressure. Interference reset. Separate domains with clean breaks, and never study similar material back to back. Retrieval drilling. Test yourself at precise intervals before forgetting. Rebuild the information without seeing it. Embrace the struggle. Interleaved stress inoculation. Mix subjects randomly. Train under cognitive load. Practice retrieval under realistic conditions, and protect the 90-minute consolidation window after every session. Special Forces soldiers don't have better brains. They have a system optimized around how brains actually work. You now have the same system. But here's the problem. You can learn faster with this system. But if you're still wasting the first hour of your day on garbage that drains your cognitive capacity before you even start, none of this matters. The system I just gave you requires a brain that's firing properly. Most people's brains aren't. They've been destroyed by their morning routine before learning even begins. That's why I made this video breaking down exactly how to prime your brain for maximum cognitive output in the first 30 minutes of the day. It's almost unfair. Watch it next.